While I was walking the tightrope, the police urged me not to do anything foolish. Their voices were urgent, as if I might fall the very next second. I just smiled, hoisted the balance pole onto my shoulder, and in their stunned gaze, spun around sharply to change direction. This time, halfway across, I dropped to my knees on the pole, slowly spread my arms, and looked down at the crowd below. In that moment, I felt like a free bird, enjoying a view in the clouds that belonged only to me. More police rushed in, trying to pull me back from both sides. But I stood steady as a rock, even bouncing on the rope. Once again, I turned around in their astonished eyes and balanced on the pole with one foot. Even the nearby officers couldn't help but look impressed. After finishing those moves, I set off again. The two officers thought I was heading back to the roof and rushed to receive me. But I wasn't leaving so easily. I turned back yet again.
Come on! Unbelievable!
Halfway across, I slowly sat down, then lay back on the rope as naturally as if I were in bed. The crowd below kept growing. Just as I was lost in pride and satisfaction, a seagull swooped down from the sky. I had a bad feeling. I quickly stood up, ready to end the challenge. Suddenly, a screw popped loose, and I nearly lost my balance. The helicopter above kept urging me to get off, and my foot wound was now bleeding from the friction. I slung the balance pole onto my back, and under everyone's watch, I stepped toward the end. The hardest part of tightrope walking is the last 3 steps, like a chasm many never cross. As I took the final step, the rope shook violently, and the safety clip swayed dangerously. Just when everyone thought I'd fall, I steadied myself with sheer willpower and finally made it across. I tossed the balance pole to the police with flair.
My name is Philippe Petit. I'm a wire walker.
Hey!
Though they immediately pinned me to the ground, I felt no fear, because I had completed the feat of walking a tightrope between the Twin Towers at 411 meters high. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers, and even the police admired my persistence and courage on the rope.
I wanted to walk a tightrope between the Twin Towers in New York, but seeing them in person, I was shocked by their height.
These towers, they have no scale. They just rise and never stop. It's not human.
They just tell me it's not possible and nothing else. There's no sign of possibility. There's nothing telling me that it can be done.
I quietly slipped up to the roof. I stepped onto the steel beam. Moving toward the edge, I forced myself to look down. The height nearly took my breath away. A gust of wind hit, and I instinctively spread my arms for balance.
It's impossible, but I'll do it.
My girlfriend shook the wire hard to mimic strong winds at high altitude. The distance was too great to throw a fishing line to the other tower, so my partner tied it to an arrow and practiced archery. When I asked the troop leader how to secure the wire, he insisted I wear a safety harness. He said at 417 meters, the audience would only see a tiny dot. No one would notice the rope, but to me, that would insult my art and my dream. He didn't understand, but in the end, he supported me. He even refunded all my tuition to fund my plan. With seed money in hand, I began disguising myself to sneak into the towers. I studied their schedules and measured the distance. One time, I wasn't watching my step and landed on a nail. The injury forced me to use crutches. But I didn't stop because I had to finish before the towers opened and the weather turned cold. We set the date for August 6th, tomorrow. Even though my foot wasn't healed, I gathered my friends. We disguised ourselves as delivery workers to get inside. An accident delayed us 3 hours from reaching the roof. Once we found the fishing line shot from the other side, we started rigging the wire, but someone slipped and the heavy cable began to fall. I quickly clamped it down, the friction smoking against the steel. I pulled the winch with all my strength, but the wire rose slowly. The partner on the other tower gave up, leaving only the cameraman. Still, I refused to quit. By sunrise, the wire was finally up. Just as I adjusted the tension, a man in a suit came to the roof. I stared at him nervously. He looked at me, said nothing, and walked away. Exhausted, I still stepped onto the wire in the clouds. I kept my eyes forward, moving with care. From the crowd below, I looked no bigger than an ant. After passing the first clamp, I found my rhythm. Smiling, I walked toward the other tower. When I stepped onto the building, my dream had come true. The crowd below cheered for me. I sat on the edge, looking back at where I had come from. Suddenly, I thought of something. To everyone's surprise, I stepped back onto the wire. My wound reopened, but I knelt on one knee in the center. I hadn't yet paid tribute to the wire, the Twin Towers, the audience, and myself.
Do you see the woman in the window?
Yeah.
Because that's my wife. But that's not my apartment. I'm going to kill her. I'm going to kill her with a .44 Magnum pistol.
His words piqued my interest. Shadows of violence flashed in my mind.
I got some bad ideas in my head.
I started paying attention to politics. I hated that lying presidential candidate. It's because of people like him that society has become so numb and pathetic. I wanted to do something about it.
You got a 44 Magnum?
It's an expensive weapon.
It's all right, I got money.
I started training myself, determined to become strong. I strapped weapons to my body. I practiced my shooting stance over and over. It felt like I had finally found a reason to live.
You talking to me? You talking to me? Okay. Huh?
But the thrill of violence didn't bring me comfort. Instead, loneliness crept back into my heart. My mind was reaching its breaking point. That's when I thought of the prostitute who was dragged away that day. I went to the motel, hoping to take her away from there. To my surprise, she refused.
Look, I was stoned. That's why they stopped me. So they just, protect me from myself.
Why is it that every time I try to do good, reality slaps me in the face? I dragged her to a diner to talk, but she said she liked her current lifestyle.
So what makes you so high and mighty? Will you tell me that? Didn't you ever try looking at your own eyeballs in the mirror?
The last shred of justice in me was completely destroyed by her words. In this filthy society, there was only one thing left for me to do. I burned the flowers and left my savings in a letter for her. Then I went to the presidential rally. With my sharp mohawk haircut, I was ready to prove I existed by ending his life, but as I got close, his bodyguard spotted me. Damn it, I was so close to pulling it off. I couldn't even do that. Furious, I ran back to my apartment. I needed to save myself. I went to the motel where she stayed. This was a mission I had to complete.
Got a gun? Fuck out of here, man. Get out of here. Suck on this.
I began my cleansing operation. I stormed inside and took out every pimp. I thought I had finally found the meaning of my life.
My hair was unusual while I was showering. Black liquid kept dripping from it. The sight seized everyone's attention. The color slowly shifted from black to green. I'm Magneto's daughter. I inherited my father's extraordinary gift, the power to manipulate magnetic fields and control any metal. But during one mission, I lingered in the fight for too long and was captured on the spot. I was sent straight to prison as a mutant. The moment I arrived, constant taunts and provocations from fellow inmates met me. What's worse, the guards didn't intervene. Instead, they casually told me to stay out of trouble, even mocking that I'd need a shower anyway. Passing one cell, I spotted a mutant with completely white skin. She didn't greet me warmly. Instead, she recoiled as if she'd seen the plague. Clearly, in this prison, being a mutant was nothing to be proud of. It was my first time in prison, so I didn't think much of it. At the cafeteria, I went out of my way to talk to Snow, hoping to befriend someone of my own kind. But Snow looked terrified, not daring to say a word, because sitting beside her was the true ruler of this place, the prison queen. Here, mutants kept their heads down. For her own safety, Snow would rather skip her meal than be seen with me. Back in my cell, I was frustrated and restless, desperate to get out. I tried forcing the cell door open with my powers, but the red light on my collar blinked. A jolt of electricity knocked me to the ground. My sharp scream drew mocking laughter. Some called the collar a dog leash, snarling that with it on, even a mutant was weaker than an ordinary human. In this place, no mutant had ever made it out alive. But I didn't yield. I knew my friends would come for me.